The Kushner Productions and Corona Extra, in association with Harrah's Atlantic City, are presenting Heavyweight Explosion, and is approved by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, the Honorable Larry Hazard Sr. Commissioner. The judges, Tommy Kazmarek, Steve Weisfeld, and Rocky Castellani. Our referee is Tony Orlando. And now, boxing fans, introducing the principals. First, in the red corner, wearing the solid black front. He weighed in at an even 296 pounds. This fella has 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw with 2 knockouts. From the Big Apple of New York City, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Lester, the real thing Jackson. Jackson. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the blue trunks with the white trim. He weighed in at an even 211 pounds. Now, this young pugilist is undefeated in 13 pro bouts with 12 knockouts. All the way from Samoa, ladies and gentlemen, here is David, the Terminator, Tua.
Hey, gentlemen, I expect clean. Protect yourself at all times. Anything hit over here is okay. You good? All right. Let's go back.
Let's take a look at the numbers as these two fighters get ready as they're set for 8 rounds this afternoon. You see the age difference. Jackson, 10 years older, has a slight height advantage. Look at the weight, 296 to 211 as David Tua comes in. New Jersey rules, 10-point must. Standing 8 count, 3 knockdown, can't be saved by the bell. Referee and the doctor both can stop the fight here in New Jersey. As run away, David Tua again in the blue, and we welcome our viewers on Sky from New Zealand this afternoon in watching our action from Atlantic City on the Cedric Kushner Sports Network. Sam Smith and Bob Spagnola. Tua again trying to work himself inside on Lester Jackson. Jackson with a pretty good reach there, 76 to 70. He'll have a reach advantage, and that's what he'll try to do from the outside.
Lester Jackson's trying to get started here, get some respect right away from David Tua. He doesn't just want him coming to him with reckless abandon. David Tua's only got 1 fight, and that is coming forward the way that he does and fighting out of that crouch. And Lester trying to get some respect for him early here, but this is a battle that David Tua has in every fight. He's used to being the shorter man in there fighting in that crouch, and he's just going to try to work past that jab and work on that body. He hasn't had much success thus far. Let's see how long Lester Jackson can keep up this work rate that he's showing here early in this fight.
Jackson stuck in the corner. You can see him trying to bomb to try to keep Tua off the top of him. You know, Lou Duba has been around so many great fighters in his illustrious career, and every time he talks about David Tua, he seems to bubble. He really likes this kid. Out of Western Samoa, now lives in New Zealand, fought for New Zealand in the Olympic Games, got a bronze medal out of it, and comes in here after a 4th-round knockout in his last fight last month against Calvin Jones, and undefeated at 13-0 with a dozen wins by knockout. By the way, does a lot of his damage early on. 6 first-round knockouts, 3 in the second, and a 2 in the 3rd round. So again, doing most of the damage there early on. Boy, if looks could kill you, Lester Jackson has just annihilated David Tua. He's really got a scowl on his face here.
Yeah, Lester, you know, he's an older guy. He's been around the fight game for years. Has worked as a sparring partner for years in the business. But, you know, he really feels like, hey, this is an opportunity to present itself. He'd been working in the gym. He was supposed to fight Darnell Wilson on the undercard. And because of Samson Cohen pulling out of David Tua, he's got this opportunity. He really wants to try to make the most of it.
Tua again being very patient from the outside. Again, he wanted to try to work inside. But, again, that 6-inch reach advantage so far for Lester Jackson, the real thing, has paid dividends. Also being a southpaw, Tua wanted to be careful and try to come into him cautiously here in the early rounds.
Well, Lester's done a very good job here early, keeping the distance between the 2 of them, but you know, whether or not he'll be able to keep this work rate up for the entire fight will be the question at hand here. They had an argument about whether this would be 10 or 8-round fights, and the Jackson camp, who had been prepared for a 6, succeeded in having it set for 8.
And again, being the late replacement and stepping up, maybe it only was the fair thing to do, as Jackson threw at the end of 1.
Do you find that light...
heavyweight explosion comes to you from Harrah's Hotel Casino, Atlantic City, as David Tua is back to you in the blue against Lester Jackson. They're fighting in a scheduled 8-rounder. Jackson again just elevated to the status of this pole feature just yesterday at the weigh-in. And David Tua preparing himself for whatever opponent. He really is kind of a laid-back type young man. He says, hey, I'll just prepare myself, and they got to beat me. I'm just going to go in and do what I'm supposed to do.
Right, because he doesn't vary regardless of who it is he's fighting. He sure doesn't have to, box from the outside with many guys. David Tua, he's gonna pressure guys, and he wants to get out. Lester Jackson gave him a real good first round, heck of a performance, but you see Lester holding him, around the shoulders and behind the heads and trying to walk him around the ring. That's what he's going to have to do. This is going to be a long 8-round day for Lester here with David Tua.
As big as Lester Jackson, he can hug him all over the way he reaches around you with those big, long arms and that body. 6'1", 296. Tua, by the way, if you're wondering with those 12 knockouts and 13 professional wins, he gets that honestly. 84-5 as an amateur with 72 wins by knockout. Not a lot of opponents stayed in there with him in his amateur days. A bronze medal, 1992 Olympic Games for New Zealand, where he fights out of right now. Does a little bit of training down in your neck of the woods, down in Houston, Texas. He still trained much down there.
Yeah, well, no, he's been down there. Lou's had several camps in Houston, but I believe more recently they've been down to Florida and maybe even in Norfolk where Pernell Whitaker was fighting. But he works very hard. They got no problem with him. And, one of the things that impressed Shelley and Lou about David Tua early was, even he's got no style to be a 3-round fighter whatsoever. But he still had a lot of success in the amateurs, just because of sheer punching power and getting guys out of there. So they were excited about his prospects in the professional rank.
You see the big guy Jackson still with that long reach advantage, able to loop over the top and throw some combinations. Tua trying to step underneath. By the way, Shelley that Bob alluded to is Shelley Finkel, who co-manages along with Lou Duva. David Tua, George Benton officially listed as the trainer for Tua. But it's nice to have the legendary Lou Duva around the corner if you need some help.
Jackson continuing to do a good job, but 2 hours, continuing to do what he wants to do, which is come on. And Tony Orlando almost had his hair part shifted there from the breeze of that blow that David Tua missed Lester Jackson with.
By the way, Jackson was part of that heavyweight winner-take-all. He lost in 3 to Bone Crusher Smith in Bay St. Louis. Last regular fight was March of last year. Won a 4-round decision over Tony Frazier. And again, his record going in at 5-2-1, and Tua getting inside on Jackson.
For the first time, David Tua reaches Lester Jackson with a right hand and another big right hand there to end the second round.
At work or at home, if you've ever...
Third round coming out with the heavyweights. Lester Jackson on the left in the solid black. David Tua in the blue with the white. And Bob, you've split out the first 2 rounds with these 2 guys so far.
Yeah, Lester Jackson did almost all the scoring in the first round and actually had a good initial part of the second round, but David Tua finished it strong with some good solid shots, as I'm sure just where he wants to pick up there as he reaches Lester with the right hook. This Tua we've seen it before. He's got the kind of power that just locks guys' legs at the knees and sends them flying. So he that's the kind of thing he's looking for. Wear a guy down, slow him down to where he can hit him with a clean shot. He's very heavy-handed.
Jackson trying to, as Tua gets inside, tie him up as often as he can. Well, working himself there. You see Jackson tying him up. Minute gone, round number 3. Pretty good right hand thrown by Tua on his way in. I've got a feeling that Tua somewhere along the way as he goes a little headhunting here, going to use maybe some angles to try to go to those sides of the body here, trying to hook some shots to the body before the day is over, if he can get in there.
What we see happening is it's very common when the southpaw fights a right-hander. Their front lead feet are getting tangled up here, and Tony Orlando got tangled up in that a little bit as Lester Jackson tried to back up there. And here's Tua doing his business on the ropes. This is his office right here, Sam. This is what he wants to do. Body, head, upstairs, downstairs.
By the way, one of Jackson's legs probably outweighs Tony Orlando, the size this guy has at 296, and again Tua. Just punching that time clock now here in the third with a minute to go.
But Lester doesn't want to be in there against this kid. You know, this is not the place to be. This is where David Tua wants all his opposition sitting up against those ropes so he can work, and there's no way for them to back up. And here he's landing some good, solid shots on Lester Jackson as Lester answers back, but doesn't have any kind of a thunder on his punches.
Jackson trying to throw back a couple of punches. There you see him trying to use that long reach advantage, literally trying to hold Tua out. Kristen Wainwright is the only man who has gone the distance 6 rounds here with David Tua. Outside of that, it's been all by knockouts. That fight was in November of '93 and was a 6-round decision win by David Tua. Has an unblemished record at 13-0. And there you see why. Beautiful combination. The body shot started sending Jackson down. He squats in the corner. Tony Orlando again with the discretion of a standing 8 count. And the fact that the gloves nor the feet never left the canvas, he made the... And there's the bell to end the third round. Heavyweight explosion on the Cedric Christner Sports Network. From Atlantic City brings you round number 4 of a Schedule 8 rounder. Lester Jackson against David Tua. Tua with his back to you again has put Jackson down for the only knockdown so far in the fight. At near the end of the third. By the way, Tony Orlando, the referee, Jackson had to take the count even though the bell sounded it and then been ruled as able to continue the fight. And then the round would officially end. The bell did not save him, nor did they automatically go to the corner. Again, he has to complete the 8 count. And at the discretion of the referee, say that he is able to continue, and then the round is over. And that's exactly what happened there. Good job by Tony Orlando.
Yes, Lester, he tried to pull Lester Jackson off of holding David Tua, and he almost got thrown across the ring. He's in there with a lot of weight. But Tony knows how to work a big fighter.
Yep.
He's doing an excellent job of it. He's not in there wrestling with these guys. He's trying to handle them with voice command.
I wouldn't be surprised he's not saying Mr. Jackson as well. Tua again, very unfazed by whatever's going on. He's just been very dedicated to, as Bob pointed out, that one speed, that one gear that he knows, and that's straight ahead. Does he have a reverse? I don't think he does.
Yes, I don't know if we're going to get to see it today if he does. But Lester sitting here, you know, he should be in the middle of the ring. He can't fight this guy on the ropes. This is just where David Tua wants to be, in short like this. And he's going to work those shots to the body and then work his way up to the head, which he was so successful with at the end of the last round.
Tua, again, is cognizant that Jackson's trying to do the best to keep those rib cages covered up pretty good. And you can see him trying to go over the top a little bit. Taking an uppercut underneath.
Yeah, left hook, left uppercut. Nice combination by David Tua. Jackson using his right hand there kind of as a rangefinder to try to hold Tua off him, but he's just not doing anything off of that, and now he's getting pounded. And
you can also see the conditioning is slowly but surely starting to take and sap the energy out of Lester Jackson. David Tua doing his best to get rid of the rest of that energy that Jackson has here near the end of round 4.
And Lester's just, he's outgunned here. You know, he can't sit here and exchange punches with Tua because Lester's really not that kind of a puncher. He's more of a boxer, and he just can't sit there with his rump on the second rope and, expect to have a good day of it. He needs to be in the middle of the ring with this guy.
So they end of round number 4. We're halfway through this 8-rounder.
These fancy figures I got from MCR.
Round 5, scheduled for 8 heavyweights. Lester Jackson against the ropes in the black, and David Tua right back to work. Interesting enough, you'd never know it, but David Tua started out as a guy who started fighting at the age of 11 in Auckland, New Zealand. Really got his nose bloodied by his sister and hid from his dad, who wanted to put him in the ring and do some sparring. Didn't like it when he started, but apparently he likes it right now, and his dad certainly well rewarded with that bronze medal for his country, New Zealand, in 1992.
Yeah, a lot of good fighters. Iran Barkley took his first whippings from his sister, so I don't think that a lot of us got whipped by our older sisters.
I just seem to get locked out of my house a lot by mine. I never could figure that out. Tua again pushing and shoving with Jackson, where he has lived on the ropes here, particularly in the last 3 rounds.
The best laid plans. You know, Lester Jackson came out here with a game plan and really did well in the first round with it. You know, boxing and keeping that right jab out there from David Tua. But since then, really, it's, you know, he just didn't have the gas to fight that kind of a fight, and he started leaning on these ropes, and David Tua has just been all over him.
Jackson, by the way, does have a couple of knockouts in his 5 wins, but both of them came early, one in the first and one in the third. So he is really threading on a little tough ground right now. As a matter of fact, he's only been 6 rounds once, and he lost that to Stan Butler. That came back in 1984 in February. Only time he's been past the 4th round.
And Lester really now, he's been reduced to holding and you know, trying some stuff, different ploys just to, you know, to keep Tua off him, and he's not been very successful at all. And Tua's really getting into his groove here and hammering Lester.
You know, I mentioned that Wainwright was the only one to have gone the full distance with Tua, just starting to work himself up the ladder. Was going to have a 10-rounder today, never been past 6, and was hoping maybe to get a little 10-round action today, but that was not the case, as Jackson, a late substitute at the weigh-in. Again, they cut it to 8 rounds.
You got to execute that game plan, though. You know, you can't just, you know, Lester's trying to fight off there a little bit and trying to give, you know, but there's some range for him to punch. Tua's got range to really punch, and Lester's just in a bad position there, leaning on the ropes there. He can't go left and he can't go right, and he can't go straight back. So he's really just trapped himself in and here Tua's unloading with some heavy thunder on him.
Tony Orlando had warned Jackson for holding on to the rope with that off left hand. Literally holding on, trying to get a little leverage, maybe to throw an inside right hook. Right down to it. He's picked a few spots, but not many as we end the 5th round.
That's my husband, Fred. At 46, he was healthy.
6th round, schedule 8-rounder. Lester Jackson, probably the closest he'll find the center of the ring, as he came out about a third of the way and now retreats back into his normal haunt, back over in that corner again. And Tua, let's see if he does anything differently in this, the 6th round, to try to get him out of there. Maybe do some more damage on him here. Oh, big right hand will do it.
Yeah, David Tua is right now at the stage of his career. They're teaching him how to, you know, to change the speed of his punches. You know, sometimes he just pushes the right in there a couple of times. Sometimes he slaps a little with the left hook 2 or 3 times. Then he really turns it over and puts that heavy thunder on it. And that way his opponents can't prepare themselves for those heavy punches.
Good straight right hand.
He's just working in there, slapping a little bit, and then he'll really dig his toes into the canvas and really rip some heavy shots. Tua continues to work Lester Jackson over in the corner there. Jackson, you know, really at this point just might be looking to try to survive out of that corner as opposed to trying to win, although he kind of opens up out of there with a couple of good punches. But when he does that, Sam, all he does is leaves himself open to some good, solid counter shots by Tua.
Again, just leaning on Jackson halfway through the 6th round. And again, holding on to the ropes. And now, here's Orlando. That's the 2nd time that he has warned Lester Jackson for holding on to the ropes.
Duva imploring his fighter in there to really settle down, and that he lets go with a nice right hand. He pulls the string on it. And another. Lester Jackson fights well off the ropes here for the 2nd time in this round, but it's just not enough to you know, keep David Tua off him. David Tua's right back to doing what he's doing. When he loops a right hand and stretches Lester's head backwards. Outside
of the first About 8 or 9 seconds, this fight has all been in this corner in this round. Took that long for Lester Jackson to mobile down about 22 feet from his corner right into the opposite neutral corner, down to the left of where he was seated. And we end round 6 in the same place and in round 5. In the corner with Tua doing damage. Again on the ropes. See him pawing with that right hand. There's that good right, straight right again by Tua.
Another good right hand by David Tua turns Lester Jackson in there. But in between that, Lester did some nice things with his own right jab and a couple of straight left hands.
David Tua up, rather anxious to get started here for the 7th round. Cedric Kushner's Heavyweight Explosion brought to you by Corona Extra and Harris here in Atlantic City. Opens up the 7th round as David Tua opens up against Lester Jackson. Sam Smith along with Bob Spagnola greeting you from Atlantic City as the summer months are just around the corner and things are starting to heat up here on the Jersey coast. And right now the fans are hoping something heats up here. At least we've got a different venue. We're in a different corner. They'll be right above us for probably the remainder of this round. As Jackson has come completely across the ring and in the opposite neutral corner.
Lester he started this round very well, but he's reverted back to up against the ropes and on the corner, and there Dave Tua rips a nice left hook to the body. Lester just pushing his punches out there for all intents and purposes. He doesn't have that good mustard on many of them.
So again, throwing some combinations. Tony Orlando again watching closely as Jackson still trying to grasp that rope with his left hand. A little flipping right jab thrown by Jackson again, at least trying to keep Tua honest and off of him for a moment.
But he hasn't been able to turn that straight left hand over after it on David Tua. Lester trying to play a few mind games with David Tua here, but Lester almost had Tony Orlando come in there. He had warned him if he did that again, grab that rope.
Jackson fighting off the ropes pretty good. A little shot of adrenaline there, trying to come off the ropes. This is the way Jackson started the fight. That's when he came out with a good combination of his throwing.
Lester's having his best round since the first round.
You hear the crowd trying to get everybody into this fight. Jackson fans, along with David Tua's supporters here. Jackson has more than just Tua today.
Jackson's really having a good round here. He's backing David Tua up, and that's probably something you're not going to see happen to David Tua to happen. But now, Lester, that's probably it for him for the round. You know, that's probably might be all the energy he had for this fight, and he's back there resting, and now David Tua is going to come on.
By the way, we might be able to sell that last photo a moment ago to Sports Illustrated around the world. We saw Lester Jackson in the center of the ring. We haven't seen him here most of the day against David Tua. As they finish out the 7th, and we'll head for the 8th and final round of this fight.
Do you toss and turn all night long?
Now they'll touch up in the center of the ring. How long will it stay in the center? Let's see. Lester Jackson takes one last good gulp of air, heads to the ropes, and Tua is right after him.
I think Lester may have shot his load there. He had a real good 7th round, but at about 25 seconds to go in the round, I think he was about done. So let's see if he can do anything to keep David Tua off him here in this round.
Tua had come in after that, again, decision win over Wainwright with 3 knockouts. More than likely will not get one today unless some lightning happens here.
Well, he's got some lightning and some thunder, too, but Lester Jackson, you know, when he stays off those ropes, he's starting the 8th round here, well, just little pity-pat shots, but they get David Tua off of his rhythm here.
The thing about Jackson, too, when he turns with those big shoulders, he can knock you all over the place. There goes Tua right back in on top of him again. Jackson has had that same stare throughout the entire fight. As you see, a minute gone in round number 8.
Lester had a game plan, and he wanted to do certain things. He wasn't really successful in doing them, but when he did do them, which, you know, keep that good right jab out there, and there again he rests that arm on the top rope, and Tony Orlando makes that move on him and pulls it right off. Jackson's corner imploring him to get those hands busy. They feel like he could win this fight, but you know, the mind might be willing, but the flesh is weak, man.
Well, rounds number 6 and 7 actually pretty fair and even, maybe even 6th round. Jackson might have been close to another one in the 7th, so this fight could be a little closer than a lot of are anticipating. Even though, keep in mind, back in the 3rd, there was a knockdown. Jackson went down in the 3rd, and then when he crouched in his corner, it could be a telltale point as well. There's no doubt that 2 is ahead on the cards, but Jackson's trying to make a little bit of fight out of him.
Yeah, he is, and you know, he's exposed David to a little bit here, but here you see David getting back into what he wants to do, settling down there and ripping those body shots and then coming up to the head. That's what Lou Duva and Georgie Benton want him to do, take advantage of his natural attributes, and, you know, he's let Lester Jackson, Lester's, you know, trying a few things with him, mess with his head a little bit here and got him out of his rhythm, but he's back into it and settling in here, finishing real strong in this fight.
It'll be very interesting to hear the comments of Lou Duva, George Benton, and that of David Tua. As Bob Spagnola will go into the rings as we close down to the final 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 seconds of this fight this afternoon from Atlantic City. David Tua against Lester Jackson. Jackson's done exactly what he wanted to do. He stepped into the ring with undefeated David Tua. And Tua, for that part, has also punched the scorecard and done a good job as well. As again, Jackson spitting that mouthpiece out after his 8 rounds and still jawing away with those working in his corner with him.
Do you toss and turn all night long? Do you wake up with neck and shoulder pain? Try the Contour Pillow. An atomic
goes down as far as a handicap of beauty. But nonetheless, will be certainly a fight that will be, once again, unofficially in our cards in favor of David Tua. How close it'll be, we've got it unofficially on my card. I've got it a 3-point fight for Tua. I believe Bob has it a 4-point fight. So we're probably just about in the same ball game there with David Tua, again, our winner on our unofficial cards. But again, with that, at about $1 anywhere here in Atlantic City, you can get you a good cup of coffee, I'm sure. The judges score it at ringside, a 10-point scoring system, and they are the people that now have the decision in their hands. David Tua, again, being brought on very, very nicely by Lou Duva, along with Shelley Finkel and trainer George Benton. Seemed very calm, very businesslike today, never got ruffled, even though he was hit a couple of times by Lester Jackson. Backed up very frequently in this fight, kept Jackson trapped on the ropes, didn't get frustrated when he couldn't get all the punches in he wanted to. Jackson came on strong in the latter 3 rounds, 6, 7, and 8 in particular. Threw some punches, letting Tua know that he was not going to lay there and just give up. And this Hara Casino Hotel crowd at the Broadway by the Bay Theater in Atlantic City looked on to see if David Tua again would finish it off and get the victory, his 14th. And only his 2nd time that he will have gone to a decision on the cards. Sometimes some of the most anxious moments, maybe not so much here, and the fact that they feel that he's got the decision, but other times that's a long wait for those cards to be collected, as Ed Darien is collecting the final decision here and will make that decision known to us as he steps to center ring. David Tua looking again for his 14th win. Let's go upstairs and find out what the decision is with our ring announcer. It is Ed Darien.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Harrah's here in Atlantic City, we've got the scoring, and here it is. Judges Stephen Weisfeld and Tommy Kazmarek each scored 78-74, while Judge Rocky Castellani, he watched it at 79-73. For the winner by unanimous decision, and still undefeated, David the Terminator Tua.
David Tua getting a unanimous decision, as we pointed out. Bob Spagnola had it 78-74, and you heard a couple of judges had it right on. 79-73 on the other card, and again, we had it on my unofficial card as a 3-point win by Tua, all of them adding up to one thing. He moves his record to 14-0 and a big win here this afternoon. Bob Spagnola has stepped up into the ring. He has Lou Duba along with David Tua. As let's go upstairs now, here is Bob Spagnola. Bob?
I'm here with Lou Dua and David Tua, his undefeated prospect, southpaw last-minute change. Did that give you any problems here today, Dave?
Oh, really, first of all, Samoa and Momoa, first time we look for the man and Leo Tua, no, my salon of say love mole, no support. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank the good Lord, for watching over the fight. It didn't change my plan, just one of those things. I had to pick myself up again and pick up the pace. And, I thank my team for getting me in good shape.
Yeah, you were in excellent condition, and that Jackson tried to move from you, but once he got onto the ropes, that was more your office, and you took advantage of it. How'd you feel about the fight, Lou?
Well, I thought it was a tough fight. It was a last-minute switch on the opponent. He was fighting a right-hander that boxed, and we wind up with a 300-pounder in there, the southpaw, and a cute guy, But I thought David did well out there. He just couldn't get himself set today where he really could have got his punches off. So he just had to wear this guy down, and we just wanted to just fight the